Hi, I'm Cathey December, and I am an artist and printmaker of limited edition intaglio etchings. I was born in Baton Rouge, and then we moved to Birmingham, Alabama, where I remember a lot of the art. We took etching classes from a lady in New Orleans before I was even in high school. And we just really loved the idea of being able to produce an original piece of art, but not having to come up with a new image every time. So we love the idea of that. Etching it's a technique that dates back to the 1500s, and it involves using a piece of metal. You can use copper or zinc. I happen to use zinc. And the process I work with is intaglio etching, which means the ink is going to hold below the surface, so it's etched down. First I draw my design that I want to do, and then I take my zinc metal, cut it to size, coat it with a wax, and it's called ground, and that is actually just to protect the plate from the acid. Once that's dry, then I transfer my design to that dry ground. Then I just take a sharp tool and I just pull up the ground just to expose the plate to the acid. So I draw most of all of the main design that I want on there, and then I put it into the nitric acid. As it goes in there, I would probably leave that one in for about 5 minutes just to get the base lines. And as I'm got it in there, I have to use a feather to feather the lines. So because if you don't use a feather, it will have like spotted, dotted lines. After about 5, maybe 10 minutes, depending on how deep I want the lines, I pull it out, and then I take all the ground off, and then I start adding more ground where I want it to stay white. And I add aqua tint too during those times, and that's what gives it a more solid area to hold the ink. So I put it in and out of the acid 30, 40 times usually until I'm actually finished with the plate. And the areas that stay in the longest are going to be the darkest areas. So then once I think my plate is finished, I take all the ground off, and then I start inking it. I scrape the ink on to the plate, and so wherever the design is, the ink is going to stay down in that area. And then I use Tarlton. It's like a meshy, stiff material to make sure the ink is down in the areas really well. And then I take newsprint and I just wipe down the top of the plate so that the ink is down in the design, so only in the design. Then I take the plate and put it on a template that's on my press bed, and then you have to wet the paper and then blot it so that there's no water sitting on top. Then you take the paper and you lay it over the inked plate, and then you have these big wool blankets you fold over on top of the paper, and then you just crank the press through to the other side. That pressure of this big roller puts out all the ink onto the paper. So then they have to dry for probably a week. And then I hand color with watercolor after and sign. I'm definitely going to continue my art career in etchings because it's always evolving, it's always changing, I'm always discovering new things. I also am thinking about picking up the guitar or maybe the ukulele. So we'll see where that goes.